For £20, you get exactly 10 millilitres of this. That works out at £2 per milliliter. And at parfum concentration, not eau de toilette, not eau de parfum, parfum, that either represents extraordinary value, or it's a marketing trick dressed up in a pretty bottle. I've worn this every single day this week to find out which one it is. And here's the thing that surprised me most, the answer isn't what I expected. Stick around, because the dry down on this fragrance is where everything changes, and I'll get to that later. Gucci and fragrance. What a relationship. Alessandro Michel's era at Gucci, which is the creative heartbeat behind Bloom, was defined by maximalism, by floralcy, by this romantic, almost theatrical vision of femininity. But not the sharp, corporate kind of femininity you got from designer houses in the 90s and early 2000s. This was softer. More personal. More like stumbling into a greenhouse that someone actually lives in, rather than a boutique that wants your credit card. Bloom launched in 2017 and it was a statement. Gucci hired perfumer Alberto Morillas, one of the great masters of the craft, and the brief was essentially, create a white floral that smells like a real garden, not a synthetic approximation of one. The result was something that divided opinion sharply. Some people found it overwhelming. Some people found it transcendent. Almost nobody found it boring. The parfum concentration, which is what we're talking about today, came as the next evolution. The idea being to take everything that worked about Bloom and push it deeper. More intimate. More saturated. Parfum sits at around 20 to 30% fragrance oil concentration, and that changes everything about how a scent behaves on skin. It slows the projection, it deepens the character, and it extends the life. At least in theory. We'll test that claim. Let me talk about the bottle, because it genuinely matters here. The 10 milliliter format is a spray, not a rollable, an actual spray, which is rarer than you'd think at this size. It comes in the same design language as the full Gucci Bloom bottle. White. Opaque. Almost chalky in its finish. The cap is a soft blush pink, and the Gucci branding is clean and restrained, just the interlocking GG and the name. What I love about this is that it doesn't try too hard. A lot of designer miniatures feel like afterthoughts, shrunken versions of the main event with no real identity of their own. This one feels considered. The weight in the hand is satisfying. The spray mechanism is precise, you get a fine mist rather than a gush, which matters enormously when you're working with parfum concentration and you don't want to overdo it on the first application. Does it earn a place on your dresser? Yes, actually. It's elegant without being flashy. It communicates quality without screaming luxury. It's the kind of bottle that a person with genuine taste would leave out, rather than hide. And at 10 milliliters, it fits neatly in a handbag, a jacket pocket, a travel toiletry bag. The practical case for this size is strong. Right. First spray. I'm going to take you through exactly what happens. The moment this hits skin, it announces itself. There's no shy opening, no quiet build, this is a full floral declaration from the first second. The white florals, the Tuberose, the Jasmine, the Rangoon creeper hit simultaneously, and they hit hard. But here's what stops it tipping into headache territory, there's a powdery softness underneath that cushions the blast. It's like opening a window in a room full of flowers. You get the full intensity of the garden, but there's air in it. Projection on that first spray is excellent. This isn't a skin scent on opening. It fills the space around you. Someone standing 2 feet away will smell this immediately. And there's a richness to it, because of the parfum concentration, that you just don't get from the EDT or EDP versions. It smells more expensive than it smells loud, if that makes sense. More sumptuous. More considered. Does it live up to expectations? For the first 15 minutes, more than. There's a honey depth underneath those white petals that surprised me on first wearing. Something almost waxy. Something that immediately signals longevity. This isn't burning bright and disappearing fast. As the fragrance settles, we're now at around 20 minutes to an hour in, the heart reveals itself, and this is where Gucci Bloom Parfum earns its reputation. The Tuberose becomes the dominant voice. For those who don't know Tuberose, it's a white floral with a creamy, almost rubbery richness. It can be polarizing. In lesser fragrances it can tip into something clinical, almost antiseptic. Here it doesn't. Alberto Morillas has balanced it with enough jasmine and enough of that powdery base that the Tuberose reads as lush rather than aggressive. What surprised me in the heart phase is how skin reactive this feels. On me, there's a slight warmth that develops, almost a musky amber quality that I don't get as strongly from the EDP. That's the parfum concentration doing its work. The fragrance is interacting with my skin chemistry and creating something slightly unique. That's one of the joys of high-concentration fragrances. They're not just sitting on top of you. They're becoming part of you. Around the 45-minute mark, the projection drops, deliberately, not disappointingly. It becomes closer to the body. More intimate. More like a scent someone discovers when they lean in close to you, rather than one that announces you when you enter a room. Some people will see that as a flaw. I think it's the point. This is the section I told you about at the start. Because the dry down is where Gucci Bloom Parfum makes its case definitively. At 3 hours, and again at 6 hours, I wore this on a full working day. What remains is extraordinary. The florals have softened into something deeply warm and almost resinous. There's a woods quality that emerges that nobody talks about enough. Something slightly smoky. Something that has no right to be this beautiful at hour 6 of wear. I've tested a lot of fragrances in this channel, and the dry down phase is where cheap fragrances completely fall apart. They either disappear entirely or they leave something thin and soapy. Gucci Bloom Parfum does neither. At hour 6, it smells like a fully realized fragrance, not a ghost of one. The powdery warmth that sits on skin is genuinely beautiful. If you pass someone wearing this at the end of the day, you'd want to know what they were wearing. This is what the parfum concentration achieves. It's not just longer wear, it's better wear. The dry down is richer than anything the EDP delivers, and that matters when you're deciding which version of Bloom to invest in. Honestly, here are the numbers. On skin, 6 to 8 hours of genuine, detectable wear. Not just a faint skin close whisper, but actual fragrance that you can smell on your wrist without pressing your nose to it. I got 8 hours on a warmer day. Heat genuinely amplifies this one. On a cooler day, closer to 6. On clothes, considerably longer. I sprayed a light mist on the collar of a knit jumper and I could smell it the following morning. That's remarkable retention. Sillage, the trail you leave, starts moderate to strong and becomes intimate within the first hour. This is primarily a personal space fragrance once it settles. It's not a room filler in the way some heavy orientals are. Think of it as a fragrance that rewards closeness rather than distance. The sweet spot for wearing this? Morning application gives you the full evolution, the opening florals through the heart and into that beautiful dry down by early afternoon. It peaks on skin around the 2 to 3 hour mark, which for most people is mid-morning. Time it right and this is a genuinely impressive performer for a miniature format. Let me paint you some pictures. If you're the type who considers fragrance a private pleasure, something you wear for yourself rather than to announce yourself to a room, this is your fragrance. The intimacy of the dry down rewards that sensibility. You'll catch it throughout the day, quietly, like a personal secret. If you're building a fragrance wardrobe and you want one genuinely sophisticated white floral that works across seasons, spring and autumn particularly, Gucci Bloom Parfum is a candidate. It's not a summer beach fragrance. It's not a heavy winter fragrance. It lives in that refined middle ground where the temperature is cool enough to enjoy something rich but not so cold that it disappears into your coat. If you're someone who attends events where your fragrance needs to behave, interviews, dinners, theater, this is close-range elegant. It won't offend. It will impress the people you want to impress. Who should not wear this? If you want projection and presence, if you want to be smelled before you're seen, this will frustrate you. It's not that kind of fragrance. If you find white florals medicinal or cloying, the Tuberose heart will not convert you. it's central to the fragrance's identity and there's no hiding from it. And if you're someone who wears fragrance casually and doesn't particularly notice the dry down, you might be better served by the EDP at a similar price point. The parfum's magic lives in patience. £20 for 10 millilitres. That's £2 per milliliter. Let's put that in context. The Gucci Bloom EDP in a larger format costs you roughly the same per milliliter. But you're not buying EDP here, you're buying Parfum. And in the fragrance world, Parfum concentration commands a premium because the ingredients are more concentrated, the production cost is higher, and the wear experience is genuinely different. £2 per milliliter at Parfum concentration, from a heritage fashion house with a seriously accomplished perfumer behind the formula? That's honest value. Not a steal, but honest. Are you paying for the liquid or the name? Here's my honest answer, both, but in proportions that feel fair. The liquid absolutely justifies most of the price. The Gucci name adds a premium, yes, but it's not egregious at this price point. If you want a cheaper alternative that scratches a similar itch, Tuberose-led white floral with warmth, look at Zara's Tuberose Pureness. At a fraction of the price it shares some DNA, though the quality and depth don't match the Gucci over a full day of wear. Consider it a gateway, not a replacement. You can buy the Gucci Bloom Parfum 10ml spray from P11, that's p-11.com, I'll link it directly in the description. They're a solid UK stockist and the price point there is competitive. My score, 7.5 out of 10. The half point it loses is for the intimacy of Sillage if you're someone who wanted stronger projection. Everything else, the dry down, the longevity, the quality of the formula, the bottle earns its marks. This is a genuinely good fragrance, not just a pretty name. Gucci Bloom Parfum in the 10ml format is one of the more quietly impressive miniatures you can buy right now, a white floral with genuine depth, a dry down that most fragrances 3 times the price can't match, and a format that makes it almost too easy to add to your collection. It rewards patience and closeness, and at £2 per milliliter in Parfum concentration, the maths genuinely work. If you own this fragrance, I want to know something specific. Did the dry down, that warm, woody, resinous heart at hour 5 or 6, justify the price for you, or did you find something at a similar price point that you think delivers more? Drop it in the comments because I genuinely read them. And if honest fragrance reviews without the sponsored hype are what you're after, subscribe. I post every week and I always tell you the truth.